thank you for joining SBC Leaders Podcast. I'm Kehn, Global Relationship Director for SBC, and today we're here at SBC Summit North America. I'm joined today by Gilles Maillet, who is the Sports Integrity Director for Française des Jeux. He also serves as the Vice Chair of GLMS, which is the Global Lottery Monitoring Service. Française des Jeux is the newest member of SBC Leaders, and Gilles is a powerful voice on the topic of sports integrity. It's fitting that we meet here today in the US, an absolutely explosive market when it comes to sports betting. Welcome, Gilles.
Thank you. It was important for me to be here also in this event because I work on sport integrity. And this working daily on this subject, it becomes very clear very quickly that it's a global subject. It's not just a French one or a European one, it's a global one. So, listening to the people who are participating in the development of this market here in the US, with the complexity that comes with it and with the potential challenges that it can raise, was very important. So to me it's important to be there, understand, listen to the people. My takeaway will be, getting information, contacts, practices, try to give some also, eventually myself, some view on a different experience, let's say, from another country.
Amazing. Well, thank you for joining today. You've seen a big chunk of the industry evolve over the years when it comes to regulation and how we address integrity. What's happening in the US? How does it stack up?
Well, it's happening in a very, to some extent, it may look like what was happening in Europe some years ago. I mean, it's happening, as we know, state by state, with very often very different, let's say, regulation strategies or policies from one state to another. I mean, land-based, online, casinos, no casinos. I mean, it's quite complex. So we say this is highly respectable, of course. I mean, it can be an issue for the future when it comes to having to building, I would say, a consistent strategy to preserve the integrity of sports. So that's the challenge I think that will happen, especially when I think about, for example, betting on youth competitions or college competitions, for instance, which is I think can be an issue for the future. So we say, if something happens there, I think sharp decisions will have to be made very quickly, and not only state by state, but possibly at national level. But we'll see how it comes. I mean, it's a booming market anyway, so the challenges will boom as well together. And
is it all pretty similar across states, or are they all doing things differently when it comes to that, when it comes to how they're regulating and how they're viewing integrity?
Currently, I would say the level of awareness perhaps about the issue can be different from one state to another, from one regulator to another, from I say question also, it's a political question as well. I mean, whether there are important, I would say, clubs or teams perhaps in the state, yes or no. I mean, we can feel that the level of awareness can vary as well. So I think with time, probably these things are going to get probably a bit more homogeneous, but okay, we have to do with that for the moment.
Yeah. So tell me something about your experience and your leadership style. It's playing a part in the trajectory of where you're steering sports integrity. Something groundbreaking maybe that GLMS is doing, or something you're really excited about right now?
Well, my experience, in terms of management, I've always been a manager who promotes, I would say, collaborative management. It's very clear that today this is what I have to move and to maneuver. I mean, it's all about collaboration, cooperation, which is not always easy because there can be sometimes suspicions between the different families, between the world of sport, public authorities, and betting operators. So collaboration is really, really key. My target there is to try to influence as much as possible and make so that the people around the table have a common objective. And we can find a common objective between the world of sport, between authorities and betting operators, for sure. I have an example of, I think, what I consider as a fruitful, I would say, cooperation. 4 months ago in France, there was a launch of a new whistleblowing website for sport, for actors of sports. This is my gift to you. So you have stickers with the QR code. If ever you have something to say about one competition, you hear about possible suspicion, so you go to that website. And this website has been developed in a very secured way. People whistleblowers are anonymous. Their reports are confidential. the IP address is not visible.
Okay.
And this is the result of interesting corporate collaboration between different members of the French national platform against match fixing. This is kind of official platform.
Sure.
And we, in fact, 2 years ago, I ordered a benchmark study on whistleblowing tools that may be available today in the world of sport, not only in France. And the conclusions were that it was certainly interesting to launch a new service in France for all sports, because many federations don't have the means to, let's say, to develop that, and also to have something which can be slightly independent from the world of sport, because very often the sports people don't dare to speak to their own federation, because let's say the past experience has shown that whistleblowers are not always rewarded by their own sport. So, and we have developed that with we are six members of that platform, but there is a French Ministry of Sport, the National Olympic Committee, the French Soccer Federation, the Association of Professional Sports League, the Association of Professional Sports Players, and FDJ. So I mean, it's you see people from different worlds, and I was really happy and proud to some extent to put all these people around the same table, defining all together a tool and a process, how these reports are going to be treated, because everyone wants to be the first to receive it. So to be received by the Department of Justice of the Paris area and to be shared with in the platform very quickly. So I'm proud of that. I mean, this is the fruit of, I think of collaboration, which on that project was, I think, quite well driven.
Yeah, that's amazing. And are people using it? Are you seeing people that are?
Yeah, well, we received only just a few reports for the moment, but and the first report was rather quick. But,
that's nice. So in fact, after the collaboration, you're also getting the awareness out, and it's much more sort of.
No, the point was not to develop a tool. It's to make it, let's say, it has to be made aware, made aware to the world of sport, to actors. So we count on the sports federations, leagues, and clubs. They are doing the job now under the pressure of the Ministry of Sport, of the Olympic Committee, etc. And this is coming.
So before you joined FTJ and JLMS, you worked in the world of fast-moving consumer goods, FMCG, for brands such as Kraft and Melita, which to me sounds like a totally different world than what you're doing now. Are there experiences that you had there that you sort of bring to what you're doing now? Can you tell us a bit about that?
To me, lottery products and sports betting products are fast-moving consumer goods, honestly. And the more it goes, and the more it is. I mean, it's very clear. So to me, there is not such a difference versus what I was doing in the past. The difference is that I'm working on sport integrity. I will come on that. But finally, it's all about what I learned was to build marketing, sales strategies, drive projects in an effective way, work with multinational teams as well. I mean, this is all what I'm doing today. I mean, this is why. I mean, working with GLMS, with the lottery associations, European lotteries, World Lottery Association, with the Council of Europe, with all the stakeholders in various countries. I can really say that I'm benefiting from the experience I had in the past and in these international companies. So to me, it's quite logical for me. The only difference is that we talk about sport. It's a different product to some extent. It's not the integrity of sport is not a product anymore. It bears values that we have to defend. So the point is it's coming from another angle. I mean, it's whether you share or not these values.
As I mentioned earlier, quite a powerful voice on the topic of sports integrity, and you've gotten there by speaking out on what your beliefs are. Can you tell me about sort of a career-defining moment, how you got to where you are now, that sort of steered you that way? As
you said, perhaps it's not easy to build a link between what I was doing in the past in marketing sales for mass-moving consumer goods and what I'm doing today. I'm a sports fan, like I think many people here in this event. I mean, but I've been playing volleyball at an amateur level for 20 years. I was also the president of a tennis club in the Paris area for 7 years, and member of the tennis league. I could observe a lot of people in the world of sport who are not, especially leaders, people who lead this club, the federation. They are not always, I would say, aware enough about the risks that some people are posing to the sport, whether we talk about doping, match fixing, sexual violence, etc. So there is a strong need for mobilization on that. So my experience in sport was important, I would say, also to when I was proposed to take that new job, and to me that was great. I mean, it was a good way to combine, of course, experience in business, but with personal commitment to defense sport. So that's you see, you can. I was happy of that. I mean, it was a personal opportunity to combine, I would say, professional interest and personal motivation.
I feel sports integrity there's a lot to learn for me, for myself. Did you have a lot to learn when you came in, when you started working on that? Coming from a passion for sports, but then combining that with your business knowledge, did you have to learn about all those risks, and was it happening when you first joined?
It's clear that it's not, as I said, when I was myself as a volunteer, I mean, working in sport, I said, few people are really aware of what's happening there. So you have to learn about that. And when you start learning, from your own company with associations like GLMS, where we have 34 lotteries, putting their resources together to monitor and make, and make that monitoring available for the world of sport and public authorities. I mean, you learn a lot. And you learn about the dimension of the problem. And it's clear also that, for instance, the pandemic, I mean, the COVID-19 pandemic is increasing the risks more than before. I mean, some people say that probably, let's say in Europe, 5 to 10% of football matches could be fixed, even partly. So, it goes to a level that we cannot imagine. So yes, I learned a lot, and today I can really confirm that we have a lot of job to do. But this is why it's important to cooperate between ourselves, the stakeholders, and the various countries.
And so as the U.S. is coming along and integrity becomes more and more important, are those resources available for them? Are you sharing across the globe all the things that you've learned?
I must say, for the contact with the U.S., it's not that easy, because this development state by state, I was talking about this concept of a national platform. This is coming from the Convention of Macolin from the Council of Europe, that any country can sign, by the way. It has nothing to do with the European Union. And there are 35 countries who have built their national platform, and they meet very often together, so in order to share information and good practices. So I'm really looking for the moment when some US states or national level, federal, I doubt, but US states should create their own platform and then speak between them and speak with these other platforms that are available today in Europe, but not only. I mean, there is one in Australia as well. Very soon there will be one also in North Africa. So, this is what has to be built, I would say, today in the US. I mean, this after building the business, probably installing cooperation platforms, whatever the name, in the state, at federal level, and that in relation with also the other stakeholders in the other countries.
You mentioned a statistic, maybe 5 to 10% of matches may be fixed. That's really surprising to me. So
it is.
Are there things you come across that are really surprising, or what has surprised you about what you're doing now?
Probably the main surprise is this type of figure, because it is not what we observe when we monitor all of us. I mean, with GLMS or other associations, when we monitor sport, we don't find such figures or coming data from data providers, but the figure I gave is coming from the world of sport itself. So I have fewer surprises now, because I got more the habit to new information. If I want to talk about a surprise, there's something different I can say. I was surprised the day my CEO approached me, in fact, to take that job, because it was very different from what I was doing. And my surprise at that time was the level of commitment of my CEO, Stéphane Pallez, she wanted really FDJ to be a leading company, to be very proactive, to defend the world of sport, because our company has been also involved for decades with the world of sport, financing, sponsoring, partnering. And I must say that was probably my biggest surprise some years ago. I report to number one and number two of the company. That's a signal as well. So that was really kind of surprised, but very motivating as well for me.
Yeah, that's nice to have leaders in place that can have that kind of vision, that forward-thinking, sustainable vision. I think that you don't often see, especially when it comes to things like integrity, right? It's not so as commercially driven as some of the other entities. What kind of challenge is it for you to work in sports integrity as a betting operator?
Some years ago, I was discussing with the president of a sports federation, the French sports federation. He was a bit skeptical about the way FDJ was approaching this, and he gave me some words that were meaning a lot. He said, "Well, you're kind of a pyromaniac fireman. The people who light the fire and then come and say, I'm going to extinguish it. No problem." So, no, that's not the way. I mean, I had to explain that we are there for good reasons. Yes. We are not only there to defend. The betting operators are not the people who want to have the widest and deepest range of bets to offer, whatever the consequences. We care about what we are doing, not only for business reasons, but also because we share values of sport. We want to defend fair performance for different reasons. So perhaps it's more in the DNA of lottery companies who have a societal role in general, but it took some time. I mean, this was a challenge. It's still a challenge, but I would say with time now, I must say that I think that the message has been passed, that we are there and we are very sincere in our approach. But this has to be repeated regularly. I understand that the kind of reaction, because they perhaps also in the world of betting operators, they are not necessarily all showing the same commitment, I would say. But working with companies like FDJ was now, I think it's quite normal, not only for the world of sport, but also for public authorities. So we are, I'm welcome in the meetings of the police, of justice departments in France, speaking with people of Interpol, and by the way, I suggested then, 2 years ago, to invite representatives from the FBI, because we didn't see them, and we need to cooperate. Because they said, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea." So and 5 people from the US came to a meeting of all the national platforms that took place 2 years ago. So now the message is there, but I know it's always a challenge to make people understand that we are here for good reasons.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I think it's nice to see someone who not only gets paid to do a job, but truly believes in what you're doing and truly believes in caring about that customer and making sure that you're doing it for the right, and the universe of sport, really, to make sure you're doing the right things for the long term. So thank you for sharing that with us. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. My serious thanks. Merci, Gilles, for joining us today, for giving us the opportunity to hear your experiences, but also what's happening in the world of sports integrity.